Okay, setting up. In a second, we will be live. Okay, we are live. Let me see. Let me see whether we are live. It's not showing as if I'm live already. Okay, it is showing it's live. Then we are good. Mala, you can get started.
All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to IoTWoman Asia live stream. We will be, thank you for joining us today. And then this is the line of speakers that will be with us today. And, and we'll start with that. And before that, I would like to introduce, myself a little bit. Give me a second.
Yes. And this is our Asia segment. So this is our first live stream. And we tried to do this at close to 9-ish in our time zone. So thank you everyone who is watching on LinkedIn. So I'm Sudha Jamte. I'm going to go watch the live stream and go bring the questions here to the speakers.
All right. Thank you, Sudha, for that. Thank you, Sudha, for that. And for everyone who doesn't know me, I'm an engineering and AI leader with over 20 years of experience in building and scaling product and data and AI platforms across companies like Microsoft, Amazon, and high growth startups. I specialize on delivering reliable real world data intensive systems, mainly in bringing focus to AI into productions. Most recently, I'm working at a early stage AI startup where I'm leading the development of AI agents platform, building systems that can take autonomous decisions on a real world data. So that's a little bit about me. And as you saw, we have a wonderful speakers lined up today. So I'm excited that you're with us and you're with us today as a speakers and as well as a listener. So thank you and welcome. With that being said, I am going to introduce our first speaker. Our first speaker is Krishna Vasireddy. Krishna Vasireddy is an engineering leader. Krishna, thank you for joining us. I'll take the liberty to introduce yourself. Krishna Vasireddy is an engineering leader at GitLab. She leads a team of talented engineers who focus on data and analytics solutions that enable customers to leverage the power of cloud and security technologies. She has over 15 years of experience in the data domain, ranging from data warehouse to data strategies to enterprise search and data science engineering. She's passionate about building intelligent data solutions that create value for organizations and solve real-world problems. She's also certified Scrum Master and an Agilist, which means she applies Agile principles and practices to manage complex projects and ensure high-quality outcomes. Her goal is to foster a culture of collaboration, innovation, and continuous improvement among her team and across the organization. Please join me welcoming Krishna Vasireddy as our first speaker. She'll be speaking on the topic of trust by design. Krishna, take it over. The stage is all yours.
Yeah, thank you, Mala, and thank you for such a nice introduction. Maybe I can start sharing my screen, is it?
Yeah,
or
go ahead.
just give me a minute. Sorry. Okay.
Let me stop sharing so you I will have to
I've
stop sharing.
requested.
So there you go.
Okay. I'll start the slideshow before itself. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Hey, everyone. First of all, I do want to thank Sudha and Roxy for providing me this opportunity to talk today on the IoTWoman 2026. My focus area has been data governance recently, and so that's the topic that I do want to touch base on. But before starting, I was really intrigued by the theme of this event, taking up space, because this is the first time I came across this phrase, and like, okay, what does this mean? Really resonated with me, made me think whether we are am I putting enough efforts to make my voice heard, not just in the industry, but as well across the organization as I'm driving governance initiatives across the organization. So yeah, I'm really excited to be part of this, and looking forward for the incredible line of speakers that we have today. Okay. So today, as I mentioned, my area has been governance. So I'm touching on the topic of how governance efforts are foundational for building these AI tools, which could be trusted. So the topic trust by design, which is around building foundational governance um, initiatives, which feeds into building trusted AI tools. Yeah, I mean, wanted to introduce myself, but I know Mala did a phenomenal job of introducing me, sorry. I'm currently working at GitLab as a data governance and quality leader. In my previous experiences, I have led data engineering, analytics engineering teams. I have been instrumental in designing enterprise data strategies, futuristic thinker around the data technologies and how these innovations that are happening in the modern data tech stack are actually going to help our organizations. I'm really passionate about building intelligent data solutions in the sense that how these data products that we are delivering are creating real value for the organizations and are impactful for the organizations. Yeah. I do want to touch base on one thing, though. On my career journey, I did start as a software developer, building this .NET applications way long back. Completed my bachelor's in engineering, then started building ASP.NET applications. But over time, I grew, took up the opportunities that came through on the data side, and grew into the leadership roles in the data space. And really came across some wonderful mentors and sponsors who helped me grow into the data leadership roles. Before we start, I just also want to give an overview of my company GitLab that I work for, and the data team. So I'm sure many of you would have heard about GitLab. GitLab is a AI powered DevSecOps, enterprise DevSecOps platform. It essentially empowers software engineers to build applications much faster and safer, and build better software overall. So you see, as shown in that slide, GitLab actually is a platform which helps software development at every stage, whether it's from the initial planning to building the software, to testing the software, packaging them, deploying them, and monitoring them post deployment. And now with the GitLab's agentic or DApp capabilities, a lot of these are functionalities could be developed through leveraging AI agents much easily and much faster as well. And to give an overview of the data team that I'm part of, we strive to provide the data products that for GitLab that helps our business to make better data-driven decisions. So we are like 4 main pillars. The data platform team, which builds and maintains secure, efficient, reliable data systems. They manage our platform. They bring in data from applications into our data platform. We have analytics engineering team who actually transforms this entire raw data into a clean, structured, usable format data models, which are then subsequently used by the business for making decisions. Like these data models are specifically targeted to meet the business needs. The data science and enterprise analytics teams, they use BI tools and AI ML techniques to build dashboards or solutions which drive customer insights or enterprise reporting. The final leg is governance and quality, which I'm part of. So our team is mainly responsible for establishing policies and processes that ensures we have data that can be trusted. So we establish processes for data integrity, consistency, accuracy, completeness, and also be able to monitor all these aspects and also ensure the data is well secured and appropriately handled. So now coming to the topic, before that, I do want to kind of ponder upon this particular statement by Gartner research. So Gartner predicts that by 2027, 60% of the organizations will fail to realize the expected value of their AI use cases due to incohesive ethical governance frameworks. Now, 2027 is not very far. 60% is a huge number, but let's see what this actually means, right? So with all the AI innovations that are happening, where organizations releasing new AI features every day, and various vendors like coming up with various AI capabilities, every company is trying to kind of scramble to understand these specific features that are coming in the industry. How are we going to leverage those features for the organization so we can increase or have higher productivity for the organization? Right, so there are several AI use cases that are right now being built or designed or being implemented, being actually used as well. Right, but these AI tools, we say, are delivering expected value when it is actually adopted by the users. Now, how the users would adopt an AI tool is when they can trust the AI tool, when they have confidence that it is first meeting their requirements, and second is delivering what they're looking like, a trusted outcome, right? So if I'm using this AI tool, it did not give me the result, accurate result, then probably I wouldn't be adopting to it. So there is some kind of a friction that gets generated with the adoption, right? So how do we ensure that the AI tools that we are building, the organizations are building, could be trusted, is through these governance frameworks. So if we have well-established governance frameworks which ensures certain aspects of data are well managed, then these data is what is feeding into AI tools. You would see that there would be more trust in the AI tools. You would see consistent outcome from the AI tools. Right. So that's where having the governance frameworks and governance efforts before underneath are the foundational elements for the success of the AI tools. So let's see how it plays out. So a business user asks a simple question to an AI tool. Now, this is a hypothetical situation that I'm talking about. Right? The business user asks, what is our net revenue this quarter compared to last? And you see the AI tool response. Net revenue this quarter is 124.7 billion, up 8.3% versus last quarter. It's very fast. It has numbers. It meets what you're looking for, like it answers what you're looking for. So it's instant, confident, and presented as a fact. But do you know what? This answer was wrong. AI didn't know, what LLM has done here. LLM resolve the net revenue to the nearest column that it could find, which is semantically matching. Maybe this column is getting used different ways by different teams. So finance team leverages this column with a different kind of filters and conditions. Sales op leverages this data in a different way, and engineering leverages this information in a different way. So there is no consistent way or definition on what this actually means to the organization. Then its lineage has been traced back to a business logic or a pipeline which has been deprecated 6 months ago. Right. So all this information AI does not have. Nobody has told AI this is what it is. And it just did the best it could, matching to the nearest column that it could find. Right. So that's why you see the answer was wrong. So what do you say? Is this an AI problem? I'd say it is not an AI problem, but it is more a governance problem. Right. In this situation, there was no metric definition. Net revenue meant different things to different teams. There was no authoritative source of this information. There was no lineage, no visibility on where this column or data is coming from. Is it supposed to be used for the AI tool or not? Because the logic had been deprecated. There was no visibility of this data origination as well. And then there was no context. There was no business context for this particular column. Did not have definitions or carried no meaning. So AI could do what it could, just match this information semantically, right? So, okay. So this is a governance problem, as I said. And what I think could do is, and I propose here some of the 5 essentials that I believe are actually the basics which organizations should look into and invest into to build trusted data that feeds into AI models, which then makes it trusted too. Right. So that's trust by design, the 5 essentials. Right. So let's talk about each of them. So when we are talking about validate, right? So validate is essentially looking at our data and trying to understand, can it be trusted? I mean, is it a quality data? Quality, there is a structural quality that, in the sense, for your data set, you would want to assess, is the data complete? I mean, are we getting partial data, or is it complete? Are there too many nulls into it? Is it a correct representative data that we are getting? Second one, what is the accuracy of this data? Is it reflecting the source of record? Is it or what is the accuracy? Is it the logic is implemented rightly and being calculated rightly, etc. Right? And then is it consistent? Now, if I'm talking about revenue across systems, so is it consistent when we are looking from different aspects as well? And then is it fresh? Is it up to date? Is the data latency at an acceptable range that the business actually needs? So is it getting refreshed every day? Is it getting refreshed every 4 hours, 2 hours? Do we have a visibility into that? Right. So these are some of the structural quality aspects. These quality could essentially be monitored and could be addressed as and when they arise. So to ensure that your data quality remains well, and this data is what the AI tool is referring to. Right? The second aspect is interpretability. Now, interpretability, in this particular example, there is this column name, but what does this mean? Is just the column name. I think providing the right definition to the column and making it easily understood. So, for example, when we are saying total, what does the total mean? Is it a total cost, total price, etc.? So, interpretability is human readable, well understood data as such. Right? When we are talking about, for example, when we are looking at dates, are there inconsistent formats across these data assets? Right. So that's interpretability. Having quality, being defining the quality for your data sets, monitoring it, ensuring that your data is also interpretable. I think that's about validating your data. Then tracing, when you're leveraging these data, understand what is the lineage. Do you have a good visibility into data provenance? Do you know where the data is getting originated, how it is moving across the systems, how it is getting transformed, and how it is getting used? Visibility of the end-to-end lineage actually provides more confidence that we are using the right source of truth. Like in the previous example where this supposed deprecated logic got used. So this actually avoids the situation, and we are confident that we are using the right source of truth. The third aspect is contextualization, right? So for any LLM, the data without context is like a noise that sounds like an answer, right? So for your contextualization is where your column is actually, raw columns are actually given a business concept or a business meaning. Right? So this is not just about a documentation sort of, but it is essentially a governance artifact where you would want to define the taxonomy, you would want to define the business glossaries for the data. You would want to ensure that you also define, you have well-defined data assets and definitions, whether it's your data models, dashboards, or columns. Everything is well-defined, and there is also a good understanding of the relationships across these data assets. So there is this all could come together to give a meaningful insight. So, building the semantic layer for the data to provide all the various context information, right? So these three aspects of validate, trace, and contextualize helps in building confidence in the data that we are feeding into AI tool, helps us in monitoring the quality of the data too. Right. The second aspect of classify and control essentially is to ensure that data is secured, well managed, and is accessible to the people who need it, who are supposed to access it. Right. So classification of data, it is must. It's table stakes. Unclassified data, I would say unclassified data shouldn't enter AI tool. So you have to know your data, whether it is PII, personally identifiable information, or MNPI, which is material non-public information. So you need to classify the data based on your organizational standards and ensure that when you're feeding the data into AI models, you are not using PII or like sensitive information if it is to that extent, right? So classification is a prerequisite gate. I would say unclassified data should never enter the AI pipeline. Subsequently, when we are talking about control, it is about enforcing rule-based access controls to ensure the sensitive data is only accessed by those who need it. So without strict controls and without classification, you can land into a situation where MNPI is silently entering your model and leading to unintentional privilege escalation. In the sense, people are able to see the data, they don't have to, or they are not supposed to, right? So access must be, and there are two aspects to it. The access could being enforced at data layer and access being enforced at application layer. I would say access must be enforced at a data layer, not just at the application layer. Even even there are security or data security standards which are being followed at the data layer, right? So the classify and control provides us better control over how the data is going, who is kind of viewing, accessing this data, etc. So it is increases our compliance and security posture. So overall, when you look at this, 5 essentials, I would say it increases the trust, not just the trust by business users in using the AI tool, but the trust that organization or the leaders have in saying, okay, this AI tool is well secured or has the right data, provides the accurate information, sort of, right? So, okay, so to end this, I'd say governance is not just a support, it is the foundational infrastructure. So, and this is iceberg analogy, right? You see blue color like representing water. So above the surface, you see LLMs, copilots, conversational analytics, executive dashboards, AI strategy. So everyone sees it. Right? But what happens below the surface? What are those foundational elements that ensures these tools or dashboards are well adopted? Is the efforts that the governance team puts in ensuring classification, ensuring there is lineage documented, ensuring access controls are managed and reviewed, the quality rules monitored. There is metric ownership, metric definition, semantic layers, interpretable standards that are established. So that's what the governance team actually builds. So to conclude, I do want to provide some of the links related to our teams. So you can go to GitLab handbook page, data governance, to see to get to know more about our team. Also, there is some of these articles that our team actually published, really good ones for more information if you would want to refer to. How governance is not just manual. Now with modern tools and technologies, we are looking at automating a lot of these governance activities and how the policies could be coded into as well. So, well, yeah, there are a few more references. That's all. You can reach me out. I've provided more details. Yeah. That's all. I'll stop sharing.
Thank you, Krishna. That's a wonderful overview of trust by design. Especially love the way you put it, the data governance, and then that's the key aspect of building trustable design and so forth in the real world. So thank you for that. The next speaker is
Mala, can we ask a question?
yes. Oh,
Unless
yes,
you're in
please.
time up, yeah.
Yes, please.
So this was fantastic. I mean, we hear about data governance from various different dimensions, and especially trust. So the experience that you bring looking at it from enterprise is amazing. It just shows in how you presented this. So my question is, I think when we spoke earlier, you spoke about how you had working in data engineering, and then you moved to data governance with this new role, right? So my question is that, as an outsider, if you're saying, okay, I manage data, make sure that I get data for AI ready, and that's my data engineering role. How would you differentiate? From your experience, how do you differentiate? And what is your advice for anyone who is in data engineering and thinking, oh, maybe I could do a data governance role?
Yeah, sure. And I can actually have two different perspectives. As on the data engineering side, I was always apprehensive of governance, thinking, oh, it will slow me down. I'll have to follow these 10 things as such. But I also understand the value that comes out of ensuring that we are following those governance standards as well. So as a governance leader who has engineering experience, I feel I kind of bring a perspective of what could be the engineering pain points and how governance can actually motivate engineering teams to help the governance initiatives as well. The transition from engineering to governance, I would say, because I was working very closely with the governance team, and I think now governance teams are established in majority of the organizations. So when you work closely with governance teams, you understand the initiatives that they are trying to execute on, understand the intentions of why we are doing it. I think you would then build that sense of why governance is required. And when you, if you would want to transition to the role of governance, you already have this background of why governance, what work that governance teams do. So that becomes much more easier.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. That's important for people who are listening and might want to, follow in your footsteps. You gave an example at the start and said how the AI gave a wrong answer and very confidently. And that is something AI does all the time, right? And then we blame the training data. We say, oh, it doesn't have, up-to-date information. So, as a person who's been in AI space for a while and seeing the progression, it feels like the beginning is wrong, right? We didn't have the right training data. We did not have right ethics when we started building AI. And then it feels like we're chasing this with more technology, saying, oh, we should do RAG so that it will find the latest data sets and things like that. So when you talk about governance can be automated, how do you approach that? What is your experience or your advice on that?
Yeah, so I can give some of the examples and I've provided the links in the deck as well, so people can go back and see how things have been implemented. Organizations have started realizing how important these governance aspects are, foundational elements related to ensuring the quality of data, ensuring well-written definitions are provided for the AI to give the right results. So there are definitely efforts going in that front, and so are the platforms coming up with ways to automate these tasks, right? So like we use Snowflake, and we one of our engineers actually developed this automated data classification processes, which actually looks at, profiles the data and classifies the data automatically, right? Majority of classification happens automatically, and then there is a part of human review also required, which happens. Similarly, talking about the documentation, when we started off, we felt, okay, there is a lot of documentation gap, but one of our engineers actually built this amazing tool, which actually, we use dbt for our data transformation. So, build this tool which actually leverages the metadata of dbt and uses Claude to generate descriptions, creates merge requests automatically, and then the merge requests are then reviewed to ensure that, okay, these definitions are accurate, and then kind of merge. So the definitions, definitions are auto-generated, human reviewed, and then, yeah, once it's approved, like it just gets done, right? So that's how we have increased our documentation coverage as well. So both of these, I have provided links, articles, I've provided the links.
Thank you so much, Krishna. We'll share the links back with our learners. I know there are people who are watching on LinkedIn. So if you have signed up for the Zoom link, or if you just go to Business School of AI/IoTWoman, our homepage, that's the way we can follow up and send you any of these references. And if you're okay with it, we'll share the whole deck with them along with the recording. Yep. Thank you.
Thank you.
I see a few of our past speakers here in the Zoom room. So if anybody else has questions, maybe we'll ask that before we let our speaker go.
Yeah, I'll be here. I'm happy to connect over LinkedIn and answer any other questions there might be as well.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone.
Thank you, Mala.
Yeah, thank you, Krishna, and thank you, Sudha, for thoughtful questions as well, and back and forth conversation. I appreciate that. Yeah, anytime jump in and ask questions at the end of the speech as well. So our next speaker would be Professor Charibeth.
Shall we do Fatima's presentation because it is machine
Sure,
translation?
yeah,
Then we
let's
can go to the
okay. Yeah,
the
so we'll
picture.
do. Yeah, so our next speaker would be then Fatima. Let me introduce Fatima, and then before that, hold on a sec. So I'll bring her up to the spotlight.
And you have Fatima's bio also, right?
Yeah, this is Fatima. Fatima. So I'm gonna go over a little bit about Fatima. Fatima has a master's in AI and brings a mix of technology and creativity. And she is someone who believes that technology and creativity can open new doors for women. And she enjoys exploring how emerging technologies like IoT are shaping the way we live and work. Her master thesis was about machine translation, and then she's passionate to bring AI to more languages in a culture preserving way. That's an amazing topic, and it's also a challenging, nuanced topic. So that being said, now I'm going to share her presentation.
So Fatima is joining us from Pakistan. So one of the things we've done for couple of our speakers who are not able to join live or based on time zones, because we want to bring speakers and perspective from every possible time zone. We have like coverage of 14 countries, I think, this year. So we have recorded some and we can follow up with questions.
Can you all hear the video okay?
No, no.
Try again. How about now?
No, we're not hearing the video. And we're seeing Mala from the past.
Yep, Mala from the past. I'm the same person, but on a different day. Let me see what's going on. I'm sharing the sound and then audio as well. So let me try one more time.
Okay. One interesting thing about Fatima's presentation, ironically, like, with her recording and talking about this topic is, Fatima is very passionate about machine translation, but she also said, I want to talk about, and she wants to work in machine translation in constrained environments. So when we're talking about language translation from various different countries for various languages, then there's a question of, oh, do we have enough compute? Do we have enough bandwidth? How do we access it? And so Fatima has personal experience in that. So she wanted to talk about that. And then, she said, I don't want to take chances with my internet and I'm going to give you a recording. Mala, I'm going to try and see whether I can pull up.
Yeah, can you try? If
Yeah,
not, we could switch the speaker lineup and then I can come
we
back
can
to
do
it
that.
as well.
Should I do that? Maybe I should do that.
You could try Fatima's and then see if you have a luck. I'm not sure what's going on.
Yeah, I think I have seen that Zoom tends to do that. If Zoom is hogging the audio, then it won't give it to YouTube. I'm sure you know to hack it, but I think we should do that offline.
Yeah.
Okay, let me find this one. Let me find the link. And check the live to see whether there are any more questions. I just saw people complimenting Krishna on the presentation and her experience. She has quite a fan base out there. And Roxy is her #1 fan, looks like. That's amazing. Okay, I'm going to mute and see whether I can get mine running. And then I will start. I'm going to share and see whether you guys can hear. Here we go. Okay. You guys hear me?
Truly honored to be speaking with you all.
Okay, I'm going to go to the beginning.
Assalamu alaikum and good morning, everyone. My name is Fatma Zafar Malik and I'm from Pakistan. I'm truly honored to be speaking with you all on this special occasion, IoTDay 2025. I'm passionate about solving the real world problems with technology, especially where AI is the communication. So today I'm going to take you on a journey into the world of AI translation, how it's breaks down the language barriers and enhance our systems and even empower the education locally. So let's dive right in. First, tell me how many of you have ever struggled to understand something just because it wasn't in your language. We have all felt that barrier, right? Whether it's trying to understand a device in another language or a lecture in a foreign tongue. Today, I'm going to show you how AI translation is not just helping us communicate, but also transforming how we can interact with smart devices, systems, and even with each other. Okay? So let's start with why. Why does AI translation even matter for IoT? IoT connects billions of devices, from smart homes and wearable to industrial machines. But these devices not just collect data, they actually interact with people. And people speak over 7,000 different languages. Imagine trying to manage a smart home or any healthcare device that doesn't speak your language. That's not just inconvenience, it can be dangerous and completely unusable, right? Language should not be a barrier between human and machine. AI translation allows IoT devices to understand and respond in real time, no matter who you are and where you are from. So this is where the magic of AI translation comes in bridging that gap. When we think of translation, we often think of subtitles on Netflix, right? But AI translation is way smarter than this gap. It's not simply replacing the words, it's actually understanding the language. It uses machine learning and NLP to convert not just text, but also speech and even images from one language to another. So how does this actually work? AI looks at the language patterns, like how words are used in the context and how grammar shifts meanings and even tone, the goal, to create more human-like translation that feels natural and accurate. It's like a way, like teaching a baby to speak dozens of languages, but more faster and smarter, of course, with a perfect memory. That's a bonus. Okay, so let's begin under the hood. How AI actually translates something. It starts with something simple. User types or system message, and that's the input. Then AI breaks that input into smaller parts, kind of cutting a sentence into bricks, and these are called tokens. Think of them as tiny chunks of language. Now come to the smart part, context analysis. This is where the neural network, a digital brain, that tries to figure out what the sentence actually means, not just the words, but the tone, the grammar, and the cultural cues. And finally, based on everything it has learned, then the AI generate a full sentence in a new language that actually makes sense. So from speech to meaning to translation, all in a split second. That's AI. It's actually happened faster than you can just say bonjour. Now let's share something a little more personal. This is Digiti, my thesis project, and it was built on just one goal in mind, to make education understandable and accessible for everyone, no matter what language they speak. It is actually a AI-based system that does the four things, and each part is playing a part in making learning more easier. It takes attendance using face recognition, and it records the professor's lectures in real time, and then it converts those lectures into PDFs automatically. And finally, the best part, it translates the content into the student preferred language. It's like giving students a personalized AI learning assistant that can speak their language. And my slogan was automating notes and empowering minds. And honestly, that's what it's all about. Now, so we have talked about AI translation in some general sense. Now let's break it down. It's actually a four types. First, we have text to text. This is what the tools like Google Translate do. You type in a sentence and get the translated version instantly. Speech to text, it's what Siri and Alexa use. You speak it and it's write down the words. Anyone can translate them. Then we have speech to speech. It's the next level. It's real-time voice translation, often used in multilingual meetings or international conferences. And then there is image to text. It's like when you point your phone at a sign in another language, like using Google Lens, and boom, it just shows up in your language. Each of these methods, they're already in use, not just in labs, but in our daily life. Actually, AI translation is working quietly in the background and making the world more connected. Let's just take a quick look at the key players that are shaping this field. Google Translate is one of the most well-known. It supports over 100 languages and uses neural machine translation for better flow and accuracy. And DeepL is loved by many linguistics for its contextual accuracy. It really gets the tone and meanings, especially in the European languages. Then there is OpenAI GPT-4. You have probably heard of GPT, right? It's not the dedicated translator, but it really understands the complex language structures better than almost any tool out there. And Facebook M2M100 model is catchy. It can translate between 100 plus languages directly, without relying on English as the middle step. And of course, Microsoft Translator, which is integrated across their Office tools, making it easier for businesses to communicate, globally. So, as you can see, AI translation is not the future concept. It's happening right now, and these are the companies that leading the charge. Then we have some, we have seen all the amazing things of AI translation, okay? But it's not perfect, not yet actually. One of the major challenges is the low resource language, like Pashto it's our regional dialect, or any other regional dialect. Whether there's just not enough data to train the AI properly. Then we have got idioms and cultural context. I take it's raining cats and all. It is translated that literally you will get total nonsense. Then we have the same word with different meanings. For example, bat, is it an animal or a cricket bat? It context is everything. And languages like Urdu, it brings grammar complexity to the table, right? And the morphology is so rich. But that richness make the translation harder. And finally, the tone and emotion. Like AI can translate the words, but sarcasm and humor and anger. So it's still very human, right? AI is not just a theory. Like it's already shaping how we interact with IoT in every day. Take smart home assistants like Alexa or Google Home. They are now able to respond in multiple languages. So you get asked for weather in English, and then your sibling can ask in Spanish. Healthcare devices like wearables, they are not just giving alerts or instructions in user's native language. Even some telehealth platforms are even using AI translation in real time, like for doctor and patient conversation. And customer support, it's another big one. Like many platforms now use chatbots that switch the language instantly. And there's no need to press one for English anymore. But beyond that, we are seeing AI translation emerging in a place like industrial IoT, like helping global teams that understand the machine alerts and smart cities where announcements can be translated instantly in the public or even in emergencies. So whether it's the home, hospital, or on the street, like AI translation making IoT smarter and more human-like. So where all this headed? What does the future of AI translation look like in the world of IoT? Multimodal translation is a big one, where AI can understand and translate across voice, text, video, and even gestures all at once. Low resource languages sport is evolving fast, bringing underrepresented languages like Pashto or Sindhi, my regional languages, into our digital conversation. Then emotions and tone preservation is it's another exciting frontier. Imagine an AI that does not just translate your word, but also your humor and compassion and sarcasm. Then offline translation will be critical, but especially in remote areas where there's limited internet access. But AI, we need that AI that works without cloud support, you know. And finally, the big brain, universal translator, like something out of science fiction. And we are not too far off. Even now, companies like Google and Meta, they are exploring like AI glasses with real-time subtitles. You can understand someone just by looking at them while they speak. It's really something so amazing. Let's just step back a moment. AI isn't just helping us with translation. It's transforming how we work, how we learn, and even live. Right now, AI is it's automating around 21% of human tasks across industries like healthcare, finance, education, customer service, and beyond. Think about it like chatbots handling sports and AI tools writing code, system managing inventories, and this platform like mine, like translating the lecture, which helps the students to understand that in their own language. So this is just the beginning. And more capabilities like augmented reality, voice recognition, and natural conversation flow evolve. This percentage is expected to climb, potentially like hitting 40% in the next few years. So AI translation isn't just about language; it's a part of global shift in human and machine work together. You know, so to wrap it all up, AI translation is more than just a tech trend. It's revolutionizing the global communication, making sure that no one is left out of the conversation just because of the language. Like from smart homes to smart cities and healthcare to education, and even inside the industrial system, AI translation is making devices smarter and communicating more human. But most importantly, it's making our world more connected and more inclusive. more understandable. Future is not about removing humans from the loop. It's about removing barriers between us. Language does not have to divide us anymore. With AI, it can become the bridge that can unite us.
Okay. I'm going to stop the share. And
All
looks,
right.
yes.
Thank you, thank you, Sudha. I also wanted to welcome Fatima. Fatima, please, if you can come on video as well. Otherwise, thank you for joining us and welcome. And it was a wonderful speech. I do have a question for you, and from your experience, where and how do you see the machine translations being used for?
Hello, Mala. I thank you. Hello, everyone. It's nice to be with you here today. I personally, I got motivated by my aunt's story. Actually, she had the medical report that was in English, and she don't understand the English, so she was like terrible and anxious. Like, what's the report? And and we just translated that into our mother language, Urdu, and suddenly she got relaxed. Like, information was not changed, but she just understand the information, and everything got okay. So at that point I realized how AI translation or your language translation is important to people, and it's really important even to save the culture. So I really want to work with my one of regional language Pashto, which has they are so enriched in culture, and their language is so even I don't know that language, so difficult. But I want to work in that and make some LLMs for them, and want to save that culture for my country. And I hope all the countries where their regional language and their cultures are like many of us are, we don't know, we could make something for them so they can save their language and their heritage or everything.
Thank you. Thank you. That was a wonderful background and a story. And yeah, and thank you for sharing that story as well. Any questions
Thank you.
for
Thank
any
you.
Thank you. Any questions from anyone on the audience to Fatima?
Let me check the live stream. I'm very excited that Fatima's in the building. We were talking about how, Fatima, we were talking about how you are motivated about machine translation, but, in constrained environments. So when you couldn't join us at the start, when we showed your video, we were saying, oh, she is constrained. Mala, you're not audible.
I'm not speaking. Can you hear me okay?
Oh, I see. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Any questions from the audience for Fatima?
They just are like cheering, just a lot of cheering going on. Yeah. Something that Fatima said in her presentation, Fatima, something resonated with me. You're very excited about machine translation, and you were talking about all the different use cases and how it can connect the world across languages. And it's wonderful to hear a very practical story about your aunt. But you also mentioned that, it doesn't understand sarcasm, it doesn't understand a couple other things you had in your slide, right? That it doesn't understand sarcasm, it doesn't understand tone. We have a next
Yes.
speaker who's actually going to talk about that. You actually brought us Professor Charibeth Cheng to this panel here. Do you want to comment on it? What was your motivation to make that in your slide as a limitation? Where was that coming from?
It's sometimes it's actually it's like when I every time when I talk with my father, he mostly don't understand my point. Okay, so when I I really want to make the use cases or compare it with the real life. So uh, I when I talk to any AI chatbot or some, I have to gave him like several prompts when I start the it's a very start of using AI bot. So like what I really want is he can understand his perspective and do the stuff and go, no, no, I want this, I want that. So I realized like the way we human don't understand each other, or with
I'm not able to hear Fatima. Is everyone able
Yeah,
to?
I'm not able to hear either.
just
either.
our
Sorry, Fatima, we lost you for a minute. You were saying that
our own perspective, just one person understand that as well. Like they even don't know the. Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you in and out.
we
Continue
just
on,
lost you
please.
for a minute when you were saying that you want the chatbot to understand other perspectives without so
Yeah.
much.
So yeah, exactly. Like I compared it with the real life, like how we people don't understand our meaning, like what I want to say to you or you want to say to me. So even they are like that. We have to make them understand first, like so we can get the result that like we want. Like I have to give several prompts to AI, like I want this, and they can just generate what they get from our perspective, whether it's not the complete information he wants, and we are not trying to give him all the things. So I think that's the we have to first make them understand what it is, and then we can have our required output.
Thank you. Thank you. I think you're also, humanizing your chatbot a little bit too much and being too kind. So, so
Yes, you can say.
there has been research done on how the LLMs don't understand sarcasm and humor, and it's not again a standard, right? When we think about humor or sarcasm in a Western sense, and if you're talking English or if you're talking, Urdu, and if you're in different countries, right? So I remember seeing a paper on Spanish about teaching the LLM to understand humor or how it doesn't understand humor in one of our, new RIPS presentation from Global South in AI. So next we are going to hear from a speaker who's published research exactly on this. I don't know about how forgiving you are about the chatbot, but the next speaker is a believer of machine translation, but also is finding out how it is lacking in understanding culture, right? We'll talk a little bit more about this, Mala, after the next speaker. Fatima, will you be able to stay on? Your perspective will be very valuable because you work in this space. You're very passionate about it. And you had so much loaded.
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, thank you. You had so much loaded in one
Okay,
presentation.
thank you.
You said about so many different types of machine translation and whatnot. So I wish we had more time to unpack that, but hope you'll stay on and we can hear from the next speaker. Thank you.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
All right, our next speaker, Sudha alluded already. Our next speaker would be Professor Chari Cheng. She's Associate Dean and a co-founder of Senti AI with over 20 years of research in natural language processing for Philippine and low resource languages. Her work has been supported by the Asian Development Bank, Google, and Translated Inc., which named her the only Asian recipient of its 2024 Eminent Research Grant. She is one of the leading researchers in the Philippines working to make AI systems that are not just grammatically right, but culturally competent. So please join me welcoming Professor Chari Cheng, and we're going to show her presentation here briefly.
One of the things, though we said this is Asia panel, we've had women from various countries. Krishna has joined us from India. Fatima is from Pakistan. So Professor Charibet Cheng is from Philippines. So like Fatima, she proactively made sure that we get her presentation in recording form. So Let me find that, and I'm going to share the screen in a minute. Thank you, Mala, for the intro prompt. Okay, share. And what we have done is we've already uploaded this presentation on our YouTube channel. And as I said earlier, if you have signed up, here the QR code you're seeing will point back to our site for IoTWoman's homepage on Business School of AI. Then we will send you all the follow-ups and where to find the recordings and deck and everything. But we set it to stream already at 5 p.m. today because we run from 5 p.m. to 5 p.m. In California time for 24 hours. So I was very excited that, we got a speaker from Asia who's able to, find time to share with us. So let me run this. Here we go. 1 second. And as I was saying, Professor is talking about, how it doesn't understand AI fails, like the LLM fails in understanding cultural context. She's also a believer of machine translation, but what is lost in the translation can impact communities, and she's focused on Filipino research. Able to hear her? Okay.
Hi, everyone. I am Charibet Cheng. I am happy to be part of this year's IoTWoman. Sending greetings to everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. My talk is entitled Lost in Translation, Why LLMs Fail at Cultural Context. This is a case study on the Filipino language. I am a professor at De La Salle University in Manila, where I lead a research group working on Philippine language technologies. Today, I want to share with you two of our projects that addresses concerns when powerful AI meets the messy, nuanced, deeply human reality of language, specifically our language, Filipino. So, how many of you have used an LLM in the past week? I'm sure almost all of you did, and I have to raise two hands because I always have two LLMs ready on my desktop. Now let's think back to our past experiences with an LLM. Has it ever said something that is a bit awkward, where it was technically correct, but it sounded awkward or insensitive to us? Sometimes it may even be offensive because it completely did not understand or it misunderstood us for our culture or our context. That feeling, that gap between what the model said and what it should have understood, that is exactly what this talk is about. They say, and I would agree, that we live in the golden age of LLMs. Models can write code, they can summarize legal documents, they can even pass medical exams. And yet, give one of these models a sarcastic tweet in Filipino, and it will most likely not detect the sarcasm that is expressed in it. And this is what we call the nuance gap, the failure to distinguish literal meaning from cultural context. The model reads the words, but it misses the world behind those words. And this is not a quirky edge case. The Philippines has over 112 million people. Most of them are deeply engaged in social media and the internet, where AI tools are already being deployed for content moderation, for content creation, for mental health support and education. These are real systems making real decisions for real people. And this may also be the case where you are at right now. When these models are deployed for real users, especially vulnerable ones, the consequences become deeply personal. Think about who these systems are actually being built for in countries like the Philippines. Children use AI tutors because access to good teachers is unequal. It depends on where they are and who they are. Teenagers in crisis reaching for a mental health chatbot because human support is inaccessible or unaffordable. Low literacy users use AI because AI are supposedly there to help them navigate through misinformation. These are not edge cases. These are the primary use cases for AI in the Philippines and many other places where access to resources is not equal. And I agree, I would be among the first to propose AI in these use cases because AI is a powerful tool to supplement the lack or the unequal resources in education, in healthcare, and in knowledge access. But when the AI gets it wrong, for these cases, the consequences become deeply personal, if not catastrophic. So what may go wrong? A child can ask an AI tutor about Philippine history, and the model, trained overwhelmingly on Western data, may give an answer that is not just incomplete, but may culturally be distorted. And the child has no baseline to challenge it. We trust the machine. Even I trust the machine. And that trust is the vulnerability. Second case, a teenager in distress opens a mental health chatbot because that is what was available to them. A model with Western trained safety filters may miss local crisis signals entirely, or it may flag culturally normal expressions of grief as alarming, and it responds in ways that may feel cold or irrelevant. And the teenager may stop trusting the tool. Or worse, the tool escalates inappropriately. Third case, a low literacy user is trying to verify a news story. The fact-checking AI, trained without Filipino cultural context, may fail to catch sarcastic disinformation prevalent in Philippine social media. A study done last year found out that 65% of Filipinos struggle to spot misinformation or disinformation. And an AI that makes this state worse is not a tool, it is a liability. When an AI makes a cultural mistake, the consequences go beyond a wrong answer. That mistake ripples into trust. A model that does not understand the culture doesn't just give a wrong answer. It gives a wrong answer to someone who cannot tell that it is wrong. Let me repeat that. A model that does not understand the culture doesn't just give a wrong answer. It gives a wrong answer to someone who cannot tell that it is wrong. So why should IoT developers care? Why should any developer care? This sounds like a policy problem or a linguistics problem. So why should I care? If you have ever trained a model or built a RAG pipeline or evaluated outputs of AI or designed a data set, you have already made decisions that determine whether an AI system helps or harms its users. Decisions that answer to questions like, what data and language was the base model trained on? Which documents should be in the database of the RAG system? What counts as a correct or a wrong answer? And who are the creators of the dataset? And whose cultural experience do these datasets represent? Each one of those decisions is a cultural assumption in disguise. If one does not examine it, the default choice is made. And that choice is we are using someone else's culture and applying it to our own users. For me, The nuance gap is not just a single problem. It is four distinct technical challenges that compound each other. And I call them the four architectures of ambiguity. First is the linguistic inversion problem. Sarcasm, irony, and other figures of speech, they flip literal meaning. The surface form says one thing, but the cultural meaning says the opposite. We've tested and discovered that the most accessible LLMs fail to consistently detect sarcasm and irony in Filipino. I think this is also true in most non-English languages. Second is the context vacuum. When a model processes text stripped of its social and historical context, it fills that vacuum with whatever dominates its training data, which is mostly English, mostly Western, mostly from a very specific demographic. The model's understanding is a projection of a foreign world view being pushed on a local reality. Third is the data desert. For Filipino and most Southeast Asian languages, annotated, high-quality data sets are scarce. Without data, we cannot train and evaluate properly. And without proper evaluation, we cannot deploy safely. And fourth is the limited safety filters. Off-the-shelf safety tools encode Western assumptions. We see they flag Filipino expressions that are culturally normal as toxic because when these words are translated, they are actually obscene. They are very strict, these models, they are very strict on profanity and cuss words. However, they miss locally specific signals of real harm, such as gender-based harm, class bias, regional bias, mental health invalidation, and these are just some of what we have discovered. Deploying these models uncritically is not neutral. It is harmful by default. These four challenges or architectures of ambiguity is what my lab is working to address. And let me show you two examples. Phil sarcasm or Filipino sarcasm addresses architectures 1 and 3, which are linguistic inversion and data desert. Consider this tweet. Ang galing talaga ng gobyerno natin. 5 taon na, wala pa rin. In English, our government is really great. 5 years in and still nothing. An AI may just see the surface form and think that this is actually a positive remark because of the words great, right? Any reader knows immediately that this is bitter sarcasm. The speaker is frustrated. The surface form says one thing, the cultural meaning says the opposite. And no English-trained model can consistently bridge that gap because the gap is not linguistic, it is cultural. Our response is Phil sarcasm. We target a benchmark of 10,000 Filipino political tweets, manually annotated for sarcasm, with at least 3 annotators per tweet, spanning years of major political events. Phil sarcasm can be used to teach an LLM what Filipino sarcasm is. It may also be used to assess an LLM's behavior when exposed to Filipino sarcastic remarks. The key design issue in Phil sarcasm is what we call cultural scaffolding. Cultural scaffolding. A bare message is almost uninterpretable without context. So each entry in our benchmark is going to be enriched with the political or social background a Filipino reader would already carry, such as the event being referenced, why people are angry, and what these phrases actually mean in this moment. This means we are not just asking, can a model classify an input? We are actually asking, can a model correctly classify the input when given the same cultural context a human annotator would have. That will be a more rigorous and a more honest evaluation. And when the model still fails with that scaffolding in place, then we know precisely where the gap is. The second example is ligtas, or safe in Filipino. In English, ligtas, safe, which addresses architectures 2 and 4, the context vacuum and safety filters. Most LLMs have built-in safety systems already, including those for content moderation, toxicity detection, and harmful output prevention. These safety systems are presented as universal when actually they are not. Safety filters are what I call weird, and this term weird is not from me. It is a term coined in a 2010 behavioral science paper. Weird stands for Western, educated, industrialized, rich, and demographic. Weird, WEIRD. Just like how the authors in that 2010 paper pointed out that behavioral science research is weird, I also find off-the-shelf safety filters as weird. Here's what weird safety looks like. A model flags a commonly used Filipino expression of frustration as toxic because the nearest English equivalent is an obscenity. But for us, it is a usual term of frustration. Yes, it is offensive, but normally for most people, we just accept it as a term of frustration. These expressions could be the Filipino cause expressions that are overly descriptive. But that same model that would block or would consider those expressions are as toxic, that same model usually completely misses implicit expressions of a different kind of bias, harassment, and toxicity. Deploying these systems uncritically in non-Western contexts is not a neutral action. It is harmful by default. Ligtas, which means again safe, is our way to address weird. Ligtas is also a manually curated benchmark covering 8 harm categories, namely toxicity, hate speech, emotional harm, subjective topics, misinformation, personal attacks, cultural insensitivity, and safety risks, all defined through a Filipino cultural lens. Like Phil sarcasm, we will use human annotators to establish ground truth, not automated metrics alone, although we would still be using automated metrics. The question we ask is not, does this respond avoid harm according to a Western rubric? Rather, we ask, does this response avoid harm in ways that actually matter to Filipino users? We are building both Phil sarcasm and ligtas because we cannot deploy safety what we have not evaluated honestly. And we cannot evaluate honestly without benchmarks built for the context we are deploying to. And that's why we are first building these 2 benchmark data sets. So what does this mean for us? What does this mean for IoT developers or for developers in general? First, please question your benchmarks. We have to question the benchmarks that we use. When we evaluate a model, we ask, who built this benchmark? Whose language? Whose cultural norms? Whose definition of harm? If the answer is always English speakers in the West, that is a signal that we should not ignore. Second, let's invest in localized evaluation. If we are building AI tools for diverse populations, then we should build diverse evaluation or test sets. A small, high-quality, culturally grounded data set is worth more than a large generic one. Third, When we benchmark, let's be honest about what we are actually testing. A model evaluated on decontextualized data is not being tested on cultural understanding. It is only being tested on pattern matching. Let us design our evaluation so that the task reflects the real conditions our users will face when they use our models. And then fourth is to collaborate. The problems we face in Philippine NLP is not unique to us. Our neighbors, Indonesia, Vietnamese, Thai, and the Tamil language, every low resource language community is fighting the same battles. So let's share benchmarks, let's share tools, let's share findings. This work does not scale unless we build it together. The Philippines is a fascinating test case. We have around 170 and more, 170 plus languages with a colonial history layered into our vocabulary. We have a digital native population with active political discourse in social media. But the Philippines is not an exception. It is a preview. The Philippines is a proxy. We share the same cultural challenges with our regional neighbors and maybe even outside of our region. The work we are doing in Manila is proof that culturally grounded AI is possible and we have to try to achieve it. That we can move beyond grammatical correctness and towards an AI that understands the unspoken and also the unseen. LLMs are extraordinary tools, but they are not culturally neutral. They never were. So building LLMs as if they were culturally normal or not culturally neutral is not enough. There is a need to do the harder and more important work of making LLMs truly inclusive. The dev community has always been global. Our tools, they reach everywhere. So let's make sure that the AI we build, the models we evaluate, the benchmarks we create, the safety systems we deploy, reaches everyone. Maraming salamat po. Thank you very much. And if you are working on low resource language NLP, I would truly love to talk with you. Thank you.
Fantastic.
Thank you, Professor Charipat, for sharing wonderful, amazing research with us. And then Sudha Jante is also here to take questions or answer any questions, as she also teaches and researches on this topic of LLM for languages.
Thank you, Mala. I wanted to add one thing. I loved the clarity with which this was presented. And one important point that Professor Charivat mentioned resonated with me. When any of us look at the chatbot, not understanding sarcasm, not understanding what we are saying in a different language, except for Fatima, who's very forgiving and wants to do many more prompts and teach it to get to the answer she wants. I think this is a common problem for many languages. And so I have been researching this, thinking that, this cannot be just an isolated problem that I'm seeing, and it must be the same thing. So in my previous project called Global South in AI, I was naive enough to think, along with my co-founder, Susanna Raj, we said, how about we bring people from Asia, from Africa, from rest of the world working on various languages that is not Latin based, because it's not just English, but LLMs understand Latin based languages which are similar to English, like French or Spanish and things like that. Spanish also, it understands once, to a certain extent. It doesn't understand the cultural nuances of Mexican Spanish or Colombian Spanish and things like that. So that kind of got me thinking about this, saying how we collaborate together. And so because of time, I don't want to talk too much about this, but I want to remind people who are watching here, especially you're in Asia, if you're, it makes sense to your time zone, because I'm in California, so I'm going to go to bed soon. There is a Africa panel that is coming up at 9 a.m. in West Africa time. So it is 10, 11, 12, 1. In less than 3 hours, the Africa panel will start. And we have an amazing set of women working on this. And there is a session on AI data sets for Africa. So what I found is saying we should collaborate across the globe. And the idea that AI doesn't understand sarcasm is across many languages. AI is insensitive and would miss out on and cause harm is in many languages too. But there's a lot of different research and work that is going on. There is one group called Masakane who is doing fantastic work. There's another group called Lanfrica, which is collecting data sets for African languages. And I don't know any of those languages, but I'm very amazed by the research they are publishing that is coming to mainstream across the globe. So I'm hoping that Professor Sherry, that I will be able to collaborate with you on my part of the research that I'm working. And what I ended up doing is I took all the different observations over many years and very many papers and posters that were brought to Global South in AI at NeurIPS, and built out a book. So I am working on publishing a book that should be coming out very soon. So I don't want to be marketing for my book.
Congratulations.
Thank you. But the way I think about teaching AI typically is I was thinking, oh, I come from being an engineer and I've done various different roles in technology industry. So I just thought I need to train the designers. I need to train the business people. And so all of us come together to build AI. That worked when we were building enterprise AI, right? But when it comes to language, we need people actually speaking multiple languages, was my thinking. And then I realized this whole cultural aspect. And so one of the attempts in my book is, how do you define culture? Sarcasm is one element, right? How do you define culture? And if you go to different languages, and a linguist, people from humanities have published research. And so if we could bring that, so my hope is to collaborate with people like Professor Sharibat, but also reach out to linguists and people in humanities who are looking at chatbots and not as forgiving as Fatima, and saying, wait a minute, it should not be doing this, and it is missing out the nuances of language, our language, or language theory in general. And so that's what I'm aspiring to achieve. So I'll be sharing that when the book is ready for launch. Do you have any questions specifically on this topic that the professor was talking? And if I can answer, I will. Otherwise, we can put it in chat and follow up with Professor Cheribet.
I want to open it up for audience first instead of us conversing. And I do have a couple of questions, but I'll open it up for audience first.
Okay. I was not able to go and look at the live stream because I was doing the sharing. So I don't know if there are questions we missed in there. Let me check. No, I'm not seeing any specific question. People seem to compliment and tag other people. So, so we can take your question if that is something that you want to share now, and then our next speaker is here.
Yeah, and it sounds like a sarcasm is a common thing that you deal with many nuances of languages and so forth. And Professor Sudha, how do you handle that in your experience, the sarcasm while interacting with the AI?
So when there's a product like a chatbot built, then obviously we have to kind of prompt it better to an iteration, but you can't automate things like that, especially if you think about Instagram or somewhere where the AI is automated and agents are set up and they're supposed to go and find out what is harm. That is a very classic point that Professor mentioned. One thing is it's humor and sarcasm, it doesn't understand it. Another thing is it's nuanced meaning in that language. And somebody is stalking someone and is making a comment, but that's not caught by the AI and doesn't stop the stalker. So I think that's where it becomes important. And I think my belief in this is it goes back to the data set. Earlier I'd said we started this wrong when we didn't train AI right, and now we are kind of doing patchwork on it. I still believe we've built a data set and trained the AI, and we said, oh, LLM can do all these wonderful things. Now then we are finding, okay, it cannot do what we thought it could do when it comes to sarcasm. So I think it goes back to building data sets not just from more engineers adding to it, but from actual people who understand the nuances of different languages. Because it becomes like a data game, right? Like we'd have to throw more and more data at the AI and the models, and that's not scalable. And so I believe we need to get right data sets which shows the nuances of particular language. So we can go back to what are called low resource languages, but they will have literature, or they might have an oral tradition. A lot of African languages have very rich oral tradition, but then it is considered low resource language because you don't have a digitized version with English translation. So I believe we need to go back to data sets built by people, including people from humanities and lovers of language, contributing to that. And Professor made a very important point, so it's credit to her, that we are measuring the benchmarks. She's working on a benchmark, right, for sarcasm or for safety, for harm. And building a right benchmark is important. A lot of benchmarks are done as measuring the model performance, and you will see a lot of tech companies saying my model is better than the other model, and based on this benchmark and the data and the published data, but it's missing the point when it comes to multiple languages in a culture preserving way. So we need people who understand language, lovers of language, to come in to clean up the existing benchmarks or build more better benchmarks. In fact, Stanford has a new class from Professor Sanvi on just how do you measure AI and how do you build benchmarks. So I hope that is something.
What score do you use, or what metrics do you use to measure in that case then?
So there's a whole set of metrics on how, first of all, you have to understand how you do the measurement. So if you're looking at whether the model is able to normalize its understanding based on a given data set, that's what we try to do. That's the stats version of the model performance. But then there could be other metrics of gap relative to what the day so it how you in chatbots, it's like you chat with it and it has a thumbs up, thumbs down, and it collects the data. That's reinforcement based human feedback, and they collect the data set to fine tune the chatbots again, right? So like that, there could be a delay, there could be a gap between how the model started and it's performing well with the training data set. Over time, the model performance decays, and so they measure the gap. So IBM has a bunch of metrics like that. In fact, for agents, especially to look at different ways of measuring the metrics to understand the performance, I published something on my newsletter on LinkedIn. So I'm happy to follow up and find more on what kind of metrics can we do specifically for sarcasm or harm. And I'm sure Professor Cheripat might have more to share. We can follow up and bring that to our audience. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for those. Thank you for those answers. For the interest of time, next I would like to welcome our next speaker up on the stage, and that's I'm gonna do a quick intro for our next speaker, and our next speaker is Padmini Rajan. She's a global security and GRC leader with over 25 years of experience driving large-scale digital and AI transformation across Asia, Europe, and North America. She advises board and CXOs on building trustable AI, strengthening cyber resilience, and governance with pragmatic, people-centric guardrails. She focuses on ethical AI, IoT risk, and women's leadership in tech. Without further ado, I would like to welcome Padmini Rajan to the stage. Please join me welcoming her. And the stage is all yours.
Hi, team. I hope I'm visible and I am audible.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Professor Sudha and team for this opportunity. This has been like a dream come true. Professor Sudha has been my teacher at a recent boot camp that I attended at the Stanford University, and I just couldn't resist the idea of joining her on her series here. So it's an extremely big privilege for me, Professor Sudha, to be sitting along with the esteemed speakers that you have chosen across the world. This is like a really God-sent opportunity for me to share space with such like elite people here. I definitely have learned a lot from you, Professor Sudha, and this journey is still continuing. I think I'm just like waiting to see how I can contribute further, not only to your classes, your events, but also to the world in general in terms of technology and its how the evolution is still carrying on.
Thank you so much. I always say this. I just love my students, and I love that you guys drive what I do. So it's always a pleasant surprise when I see my students show up. And I think you took my class in 2022 in Stanford. Now I'm doing LinkedIn learning courses. I'm not teaching at Stanford, so I'm very happy to see you and learn from you. I got a sneak peek of your deck, so I'm very excited to learn from you.
Thanks, Professor. And I think I just need to share my deck, right?
Yes, yes.
Yes, sure. So I'll just start off and let me just share what is coming up. So please let me know if it's coming up properly. Because maybe it's like showing the...
No, it's good. You can make it to a full screen mode.
A screen mode? Is this better now?
Yeah, this is better. Thank you.
Okay, sure. So let me just... okay, 1 second. Let me just get it going. Yeah, you can see my slide deck properly.
Yes,
Is
we
it better?
can. Yeah, yes,
Yeah.
we can. Thank you.
The
Sure.
previous view where you showed the full screen was much better.
That was much better.
Yeah.
Okay. Not sure what is causing it. Let me just stop 1 second.
So one thing I found very fascinating is this is IoTDay, and IoT covers a lot of different things. So I have thought IoT, and then I have thought AI, and along the way I've thought about autonomous vehicles. So I used to say IoT produces data, and that has led to AI, and there's so much data from IoT that's trained AI. And I found how Padmini has flipped it and said when IoT meets AI is that AI needs IoT. Like where we are today, we see, AI is pervasive and everywhere. So I'm very excited to hear that version. Yeah, this is good. This view is perfect.
Okay, sure.
Thank you.
Yeah. It's not showing up for me for some reason. That's why like I was a bit...
No, I think you can go back to that view if that is more comfortable for you. That's no problem.
Okay.
This is also good.
This is only, or do you want to see me as well?
Yeah, we love to see you. Yeah. Now we are seeing you here and we're seeing you on that screen.
Okay, sure.
Yeah. Okay.
So let me start off like, I just wanted to make it an interactive session rather than just a top-down thing, because people generally get really bored listening to lectures all day long, right? So I just wanted to like start off with a couple of questions which gets our audience like really poking into their everyday life, right? So for example, we have AI all over the place. We have been hearing it from morning today as well. We have been hearing about IoT as well, right? So one question that definitely starts like stimulating our thinking is how much of predictability is out there, right? So most of you would have visited a website and suddenly you see that you are bombarded with offers, right? And you would be wondering, how did the internet know what I am doing? where I have been, whom I have visited, or what shopping I have done, right? So similarly, there could be other instances where it already shows you things that you are planning to do in the future, right? So you would suddenly have like a sort of deja vu. Oh, okay, this is what I was planning. And hey, my computer already knows what I want to do, right? So a lot of data is already out there by us, right? Around us, of us. So it's like pretty scary in a sense, because everybody needs to know everything about each other. Is that really like what we want? But at the same time, we are also thinking, hey, it would be of great help if the computer knew what I wanted to do and eliminate a lot of all these kinds of hurdles, right? Small things that go into all this planning or execution of our everyday tasks. So how many of you do you think you have had your phone or device predict what you are about to do next? I would say almost all of you, right? You would have already got that sort of sense, right? That the internet is already aware of you, Google is aware of you, and a lot of systems already are following what you are doing, right? But then if you see the scale at which this is happening, right? So as of today, we have about 25 billion IoT devices already connected. These IoT devices, you know, right? It could be your smartphone, it could be your CCTV camera systems, it could be the automation in your car, right? So self-driven cars are already there, right? And then it could be a lot of your Wi-Fi routers, things like that, which are all interconnected. You could probably just switch on the car engine, right? Sitting at your home, and it's already warm by the time you get to your garage to drive. Or like a typical James Bond movie, you just expect your car to drive to the driveway and be ready with the door open as soon as you step out of your house, right? There could be also things like where your lights are on as soon as you walk in, or the house is already warm as soon as you walk in from outside, right? So these is all possible because of IoT, the Internet of Things, right? So we are just exponentially looking at how this is going to explode in the coming months, because we already started a long time back, but then it has picked up so rapidly that it's not just industrial use, it's personal devices as well, right? Everywhere where it is proliferating. So if you just look at the scale, by the end of 2026, we are expecting about 30 billion IoT devices to be connected to each other. That is 30 followed by 9 zeros, right? So that's the enormity of the kind of technology that will be like in use, right? But then if you think on a personal basis, right? How many connected devices do you think you already interacted with today? A smartwatch would definitely be one. Your Wi-Fi is already there. Your Bluetooth is already there. Probably a connected car, a connected like a household system inside the Wi-Fi, right? At least 4 to 5, right? So, on an average, a person today, at least the educated, technology literate person today uses 3 to 4 devices, IoT devices on an average. But this is going to explode again. We are expecting 30 billion devices, like I said. So this would be around 5 devices on an average being built around one person. So imagine the scale of it. If all of humanity, oh, okay, say half of humanity started using IoT, right, in order to carry on their daily activities, or even like conduct life in the industrial sectors, right? So this is the kind of scale, this is the kind of enormity that we are looking at. The potential is enormous, all right? So let's look at how this really like helps. Almost everything is on the cloud now, right? But we are moving away from the cloud as well. We are moving something towards edge computing. So if you think of the Teslas and the Waymos of the US and its expansion into other countries also, there'll be a lot of self-driving cars, right? But then it comes also with the question, if the car had to take a decision, would you wait for it? Or would you rather override it and take your own decisions? Or would it be a hybrid model where you are also allowed to take the decision, but you would rather have the car take the most common decisions for you, right? Very, very interesting times that we live in. and let us explore what this actually means, right? So what I wanted to cover today is the history and evolution of IoT. And then I wanted to see how we are going from IoT to AIoT, where intelligence will meet connectivity. A couple of applications which are transforming the world using AIoT. What's the promise? What's the kind of advantage that we are already seeing? But then what are the perils and disadvantages also that come with it, right? And how do we rectify it? How do we course correct? And how do we build it right for the future? Right. So a couple of things here, but I think I could brush through the first one or two sections because I think you've already been hearing about it since morning, right? Simply put, Internet of Things, it's the network of all those connected physical devices, right? Your smartwatch, your Wi-Fi's, your iPhones, your CCT, TVs, and your smart cars, etc. But then when it comes to AI, you have the artificial intelligence, which helps you do the decisions, right? And then you have the convergence here. So today's session is all about artificial intelligence with IoT, right? Which means like we are talking about autonomous real-time decision-making ecosystems that come along with the AIoT, right? So together, this is where we are trending towards. We are already in it. It's not a new concept. It's just that it's being magnified 1,000-fold on a daily basis in order to reach more people on the planet and in order to like make life more efficient and more productive, right? So history of IoT, you would definitely know, right? It started off with the Carnegie Mellon Coke machine way back in 1982. Necessity is the mother of invention, like they say, right? So this is where the students of Carnegie Mellon University, they did not want to walk to the third floor, and they would go there and they would see that the Coke was either warm in the machine or the machine was switched off. There were no Coke bottles left in the machine. This sparked the first kind of thinking, right? Which led to the first IoT sort of device where they connected the Coke machine to the ARPANET. And then they started tracking, do we have enough Coke bottles? Are the Coke bottles cold enough? And do we have enough stock, right? So that they were able to automate a large number of these steps and go to the third floor only when everything was already set, right? So this like sort of predates the other kinds of the toasters and the IoT devices that we generally hear about. Though this was like a very internal project, Professor Sudha would definitely be loving to highlight more of this being from the academic background, right? So then we go over to the 1991s, and then that is where the IoT word gets coined, right? So the Internet of Things, as they say, right? And then Kevin Ashton comes up, he declares it in 1999, and then 2008 is where we see the first massive explosion of its usage, right? So the devices started interacting with the humans, and then there were more devices than the humans for the first time, right? And then, of course, a lot of automation came in, a lot of productivity gains, a lot of efficiency. But then, yeah, it comes with its own set of problems that we'll be looking at, right? 2015, 5 billion devices, we are already there. And then in 2024, we saw almost 15 billion devices, right? And then we are bringing in the AI technology also to make it much better. And as I mentioned, we are looking at 30 billion devices by the end of 2026. So this is the kind of like exponential growth that we have seen in this area. And it all went from being reactive to being connected, then to being predictive. And now it is going towards being more autonomous, which means a lot of these simple decisions or simple execution steps will be taken over by the machines, and we humans will be left with the creativity part, which I definitely would want no machine to ever replace, right? So IoT to AIoT, yeah, traditionally you have all these devices doing things based on a routine script, right? And it's all very reactive. But then it's also very limited because we have very little intelligence put into the washing machine or the lift, right? Or the smartwatch. But then when we add an AI layer, it becomes really intelligent, right? it's not only able to take the data in, but it's able to process it and decide on what outcomes can be achieved based on that, right? So there's this other layer where it comes to self-learning, right? So these devices, they start learning based on the data sets that they are being trained on, and they are getting more and more intelligent as they go, right? So like I mentioned, it's going to be a lot more autonomous, which means like humans will not be bothered all the time, and then they will be heavily predictive as well. Imagine just having your smartwatch predict a heart attack or a cardiac arrest way ahead of time. Wouldn't it save a life, right? So these are the kind of implications that we can see with artificial intelligence embedded into IoT. And then we can also look at what other standards and frameworks can make it much better, because anything that comes with technology needs to be very, very carefully regulated. It can be abused, misused, all right? So what does all this mean for us? We already have the connected systems. We are bringing them closer together. We are putting in the intelligence layer. We are putting the predictive self-learning layer. It's going to be transformative. Like I mentioned, right? Just one case in healthcare. It could be like the James Bond car, right? It just drives up to your doorstep and is ready to take you somewhere without you having to even lift a finger. There could be so many other implications, especially now that we have people in space, right? So just imagine what AIoT can achieve if driven properly, right? So we just went through a couple of trends, and then I saw something here. Around October 2025, there was a huge jump in the kind of AIoT coming in, right? So there's a lot of focus now, not just on IoT, but IoT with the brain, which is the AIoT, right? And here is where I take a little detour, like Professor Sudha mentioned. Everybody says IoT needs AI. I would digress a little bit and I say AI needs IoT, right? So IoT will give you all those connected devices, but you need a brain to bring it all together, right? You need a brain which will make sense of all the data. And you need a system which is able to stitch all this together for predictable outcomes, for better management of the data, for ethical management of the data, right? So I would say it's not just IoT needing AI, but it is AI needing IoT, because now we are looking at massive scaling of all the devices, the production systems, the industrial usage, the healthcare industry, which is using the transport sector, agricultural sector, right? And definitely everyday usage. So every AI system will need all this data, and this data will come from IoT. So while the IoT is the nervous system that AI requires at scale, AI will help us make sense of all the data that is coming in from these IoT devices. So there is a very, very strong connection between the two. And going forward, I would say there's nothing called just IoT. It's going to be AIoT all the time, right? So a typical like a structure that we see, right? 4 layers of what the AI architecture looks like when it's combined with the IoT, right? So you do have all these layers where you see the physical devices. Then you have the connectivity layer where you are transmitting data at scale using all these technologies. You also need edge computing and cloud in order to do the processing. And then definitely you have the highest form of intelligence coming at the application layer, where you're looking at massive execution of the AIoT technologies, right? Like I mentioned, the industrial SCADA, for example, where I was working, we were already able to connect all the transformers, the electrical pole systems, the entire grid, right? When I was working with the electrical grid system, which we released way back in 2005 for India's power sector. I was also working with the healthcare dashboard, right? We released the first telemedicine enabled electronic medical records healthcare systems for India in collaboration with ISRO and Narayana Hrudayalaya. And I am mighty proud to say I was involved from the start of this technology, and It's enormous. Like the way we built it at that time has changed over time. With AIoT, I think I could achieve wonders today, giving you the exact health dashboards. Even before you know what is going to happen, we could predict, we could prevent, we could rectify things, and we could definitely help save a number of lives in the healthcare sector. Smart cities. All of us want smart cities. We want great roads. We want great transport systems. We want great grid management. We want smart traffic lights which understand not to blink red when we want to like go fast, right? So these are like enormous potential the stuff that we are looking at once we build all this AIoT architecture properly, right? And definitely consumerism. If you already know your smart fridge can predict that the milk is over and it orders on itself from say an Amazon, and make sure that everything is stocked so that you don't have to rush to the nearest shop to buy anything, right? So these are things like which we definitely could use at the highest level of the AIoT, right? So it's all about going from devices, using edge computing, to putting it on the cloud, embedding it to AI, and giving us the best decision making possible in the shortest possible time. So imagine the amount of potential these systems can bring us in. We are seeing this already, right? Like I mentioned, we are seeing it in healthcare, we are seeing it in the industry. For example, gas leakages are very well predicted even before they happen. Siemens, for example, runs its systems at 99.9999% precision because they are using AIoT a lot, right? They have embedded AIoT into almost all their systems, and they are able to get that kind of efficiency from the machines. And definitely the human plus AI part will be 100 times more magnified if you use it in the right way, right? So we are also looking at smart grids where we can like not only utilize energy which is being produced, but we can also utilize the spare energy that is available with people. We can feed it back into the grid, and then we can enhance definitely better sort of like usage of all this device, right? Agricultural sector, just imagine if we could magnify it 100-fold, 1,000-fold, if we could get more crop per hectare using AI technology along with IoTs embedded in every sector, right? So this would definitely make sure that the humanity, the race, right? We are not like facing any more hunger pangs. Everybody gets food on the table. Transportation, I already mentioned. Fleet management is one of the largest sectors which is using AIoT, and definitely consumer AI, right? So I already have seen these things work out in public. Probably you just didn't notice it so much. Next time you get into a hospital or a smart car or even a shop, please give a thought to the technology that is making all this happen, right? So let's look at the scale of AIoT. Like I mentioned, we have so many connected devices today, right? And then we are looking at a $1.1 trillion market, which is just going to explode because of all this. 2030, 75 billion devices. I just mentioned 30 billion this year, but in another 4 years, we are at 75 billion, right? And definitely we are looking at 40% energy savings. This is one of the major areas where we need to save. The resources on Earth is not infinite. We need to be extremely careful about how much we are definitely going to spend, all right? And if we are smart about it, we will have future generations not suffer at all, right? So they will also have a great life, better than ours possibly, and definitely more productive, right? So I would say AIoT is not just a technological evolution, right? It's a strategic enabler. It's a must have, it's a must go to nowadays for businesses and societies, right? So we are all interconnected. We are breathing the same air, we are drinking the same water, we are living on the same planet. So what makes us not use the same web, the same internet, to be able to connect better and to be living smartly, right? So this is what the future-ready world needs, and that is where we are looking at using AIoT. All right. Key advantages, definitely you're seeing real-time intelligence. We are seeing like up to 50% efficiency. We are looking at handling more patients per doctor, per hospital, right? We could save a lot more lives. We could look at sustainability gains, like I mentioned, smart grids, and definitely smarter public services. But then there's a very important point that I am going to touch upon in my presentation today, which is about inclusivity and ethics, right? So I want to like make sure that we focus more on not just using smart AIoT everywhere, but also about making AIoT inclusive and accessible to every person on this planet. So it's possible, folks. Let's see how we can do it, right? But then you need a purpose behind all this, right? So if you added AI to IoT without a purpose, it's like adding autopilot to a bike, right? It looks impressive, but it helps nobody. I mean, why would a bike go on its own, right? If it doesn't know where to go and what to do when it reaches its destination, right? So I would say, folks, just don't chase intelligence, chase impact. I wanted to share a very interesting like case study from my own experience. We were like handling a healthcare ecosystem with AI-driven intelligence, right? So last year when I was the vice president of cybersecurity operations at a startup which deals with cybersecurity services, this was a very interesting situation we came through. So we had this healthcare client. They are one of the largest healthcare chains in India. They were like increasing their devices, right? They had a lot of connected devices. You mentioned it, right? X-ray systems, CT scans, and then radiology, the EHRs, and then you have all the smart watches, the telemedicine platform, right? Imagine the kind of scale the hospitals are facing when they have to connect all these devices internally into one cohesive data-driven system, right? In order to make sense of it, right? So a lot of it was also on the cloud. But then this is where the cybersecurity challenge started, right? Because the patient data was getting increasingly exposed, right? You never know who is going to walk in with the next like Bluetooth device and start scanning systems and steal your patient data. This is an extremely real threat which most of the healthcare institutions are facing today, right? There was lack of real-time visibility across all these endpoints. I mean, the IT department or even the cybersecurity team, right, which was being put in place, did not know who were connected to who and where all the devices on all the time. Who was monitoring them? Were they password protected? Was there a proper Wi-Fi? Was there a proper Bluetooth like a firewall in place? How are we protecting our systems, right? So there was lack of real-time visibility. And there was also a very reactive security posture. I mean, dekha jayega sort of, right? In Hindi, as they say. When things happen, then they started taking actions. So they wanted to move from the reactive to the proactive and the predictive, right? So I was like tasked with deployment of a managed security framework, which transformed the organization's security posture. So we put in a lot of IoT-driven telemetry. We put in the centralized data ingestion, which means all the data from all the IoT devices flows into one centralized database, and we have complete control over the data. And we are able to do the backup and data recovery plans also based on that, right? The SOC was put in place, which means there was a security operations center which started operating 24/7. We put in the AI power to it so that we were able to put in the threat intelligence proactively being monitored instead of just being reactive. Automated response over workflows were put in place, and then definitely compliance, right? Because healthcare is one of the highly regulated compliance industries, right? So we had to make sure that we cater to HIPAA, to the GDPR, and now DPDPA coming into place, right? So that was a plan. The results, they were extremely optimistic. We were able to see 35% reduction in threat detection and response. So what took hours or days earlier to be able to detect, we were able to detect in terms of minutes and hours. So we were able to see a threat in real time, almost near real time, right? If somebody compromised a device in the hospital, we were able to take immediate action, not only to prevent it and protect our device, but also to prevent further such actions from happening, right? So we were able to strengthen the entire regulatory compliance posture. We were able to like bring in more resilience. The system was able to self-correct in a number of situations, knowing predictable outcomes, right? And then we completely led it into a predictive intelligence driven like ecosystem, right? So this was one of the use cases that I wanted to mention as part of how we were able to put AIoT into place, right? But then when you have great power, it also comes with great responsibility, right? So you have a lot of threats also coming in. And a number of you would have already heard about the Mirai botnet case, right? So where there was a DDoS attack based on the usage of all the connected devices which were not protected over the web. So there was a worldwide disruption. It brought down the major platforms like Twitter and Netflix and GitHub. And it was a very, very like strong case where privacy was breached. And there was a lot of data exploitation done. So this was one of the first cases where we saw that you can like actually have a cybersecurity attack at scale. This was followed by several other cases. You can read about the Stuxnet case in 2010, where the nuclear infrastructure was damaged, right? Because this showed that physical infrastructure can also be damaged when you have AIoT, but it can be like definitely compromised, and the threat is very, very real. 2021 Colonial Pipeline case, where there was a ransomware case of IT systems. The entire pipeline ops was shut down, and then it had to switch over to a manual mode for several days, costing several $1 million, right? So there was fuel shortage overall across the US, and this led to national disruption. Imagine the scale the systems, the industry, or the government loses when things are down even for a day, right? So this is the kind of scale that we see. So this is like a systemic risk. And now we are seeing decision risks, right? So when I say self-driven cars, for example, right? So it could fail. So if the autonomous system takes wrong decisions, who is responsible? Is it the manufacturer? Is it the IoT system that is being manufactured and put into place? Or is it the car manufacturer? Or is it the user? Or is it anybody else? Is it the government, right? So you can always look at so many of these risks. But the beauty of having AIoT in place is you can converge all these risks and look at them at a centralized dashboard, right? So you're able to see at scale what is happening. You're also able to see the physical impact that such breaches can have. And then you see the dependencies of all these interconnected devices, and you are able to put protective and preventive measures. And definitely you can improve the real-time decisions which are being made by the AI on all these IoT devices, right? So I would say it doesn't introduce new risks. It amplifies and combines the existing one. So we need to like ensure that our AIoT in place is also made more resilient. It is kept up to date, and we are able to like put in not only preventive and corrective measures, but also predictive measures for the future. All right. So you can read about the Mirai botnet. It's an extremely like interesting case, which like definitely shows what a bunch of people who have unethical ideas can do if they are let loose with like a very, very loose infrastructure which is not protected properly, right? So we see the vulnerabilities here, like I mentioned. In healthcare, for example, you see algorithmic bias also. It's an extremely high sort of risk. So how many of you have heard about the Coke machines not dispensing the Coke bottles because it detected darker skin? So the bias there, which was introduced because of lighter skin tones, meant that the Coke machine was not detecting the darker skinned person and it was not dispensing Coke, right? Or it was not even dispensing what you say, it was a hand wash liquid, right, in the restrooms. The similar thing can also happen in healthcare, where we see that machines which are strapped to people's wrists, for example, right, they do not detect properly because it is of lighter skin. It is probably built on darker skin tones, right? So there are so many such biases which come in because of the data sets that are being fed into the systems not being very, very well, right? So they are not complete, they are not inclusive, and they have been a very limited set. So the bias creeps in, and whatever decisions are taken by the AIoT also will reflect these kinds of biases, right? You could also look at the infrastructure dependence being a very high risk, and a couple of other risks, right? Privacy erosion. Why do you think GDPR and DPDPA are in place? We need to be able to consent whether our data is being shared or not. More than half of us don't even know where our email addresses are being shared. Go and check out Have I Been Pawned? You don't even know if your name is on the dark web. Go find out. If you are checking into a hotel, do you know you're being monitored, right? So there are places where our privacy is always getting compromised, right? So this is a very, very high risk as well with AIoT. And then the digital divide, where you have inaccessible IoTs, right? You need to bring them all together. And definitely a lot of people like losing their jobs recently because the companies, or rather the managements of top companies, feel that AI and AIoT in general, right, can do a lot of work which was previously being done by humans. So this is a very like a pertinent risk as well, right, which comes with the kind of like AIoT explosion in process, right? But then the new competitive advantage definitely is trust. And one of our speakers earlier was mentioning how trust needs to be built in into everything that is data governance on the AIoT, right? So let's see, I just wanted to just look at a couple of things. I don't want to delve very deep. This could be highly technical for most of you who are not following up on the technical side, right? So we need to have security by design in everything. Just like trust by design, it needs to be security by design at all phases of the usage, right from the inception of these devices, the manufacturing, the usage, the execution, and the adoption. Security by design needs to be a common principle which flows across all this, right? So for those of you who are like technologists, you would understand that we are talking about secure boot, automated patch management in order to make sure that security is always like up and going, and definitely feeding it the right kind of data, encryption, and proper architecture at all places, right? So let me look at another interesting case study for you people. We were working with a fast scaling enterprise, right, which was putting their digital footprint across, which means like they were already on the web. They went into like Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, LinkedIn, right, Substack, you name it. They wanted to proliferate and be visible across all these platforms, right? And they had all their assets on the cloud. So they did not know where they would be attacked. So they had no centralized visibility on where the breach could happen. All right. So this is a typical challenge which most companies face when they are scaling up, right? So they had all these internet exposed assets. They thought a firewall would do, but a firewall is never enough. the bad actors, the threat actors are evolving faster than the security personnel, right? So it's like a chore police game, like we say in Hindi. We would definitely have the criminals always thinking ahead of those who protect, right? So we need ethical hackers all the time in our teams in order to think like the criminals and protect our systems, right? So there was delayed detection of misconfiguration. We did not know the potential entry points for the attackers. It could be through the Wi-Fi systems. It could be by bring your own devices in offices. And it could be through breach of the firewalls. It could be a brutal attack on the website or on any of the external attack surfaces, right, which the company had. There was very little security. It was always reactive with the SOC coming in and putting things in place afterwards, right? So what I was tasked with was the implementation of external surface attack surface management system. So we changed the security strategy a little bit. We went into an IoT like signal collection sort of strategy where we put in risk intelligence in place. We started automating all the alerts and the workflows so that people got alerted even before things could happen. People got alerted when things were happening, and people got alerted also when things had happened, right? So it was a clear flow of all automation flowing in with AI doing a lot of this stuff for us, right? And we were able to bring in a unified real-time executive dashboard in order to see all this. So what are the benefits of such a transformation, right? We were able to get complete visibility into all previously unknown external assets. They didn't even know how many endpoints were exposed earlier, right? Now all this was centralized. They were able to see it in one dashboard. And this meant significant reduction in the mean time to detect, which we normally call MTTR and MTTDs in cybersecurity language. We were able to proactively identify whether it was high risk, low risk, medium risk, and we were able to take proper measures based on the kind of exposure, right? And we were able to strengthen the overall cyber resilience and governance, right? So the organization transitioned from periodic manual assessments to continuous AI-driven autonomous risk management system. So all this was possible because of putting all these things in place. Coming to my favorite topic, ethics and inclusion. We can't just do things for a few people on earth, right? We need to be able to do it for everybody, right? So in terms of inclusion, we need to think about not only the young and old, not only about race, not only about gender. Most people, when we say inclusion, they always think about gender, but it's not just limited to gender. It could be about race. It could be about the kind of accessibility, the kind of age factor, the kind of whatever limitations people have, right? So we need to build AIoT for everybody. We need to use all these guidelines which are already available. Like, for example, I refer to the UN SDG number 10, which is about equality, right? To build in inclusive design. So this is not a nice to have anymore. It's a must have. It is a should have, right? So we are also thinking about explainable AI. A lot of people on the planet don't even understand what this is about. If you could explain AI and the usage of AI and IoT to your grandma or to a 5-year-old, that is what explainable AI would mean, right? So you should be able to tell why the system is taking such a decision and what are the factors behind it and what can change it, right? So the decision making needs to be updated ever so frequently and make sure that people understand why things happen the way they happen, and they should not be wondering why this is being overtaken by industrial systems, right? We also want to look at data sovereignty. Like I mentioned, the GDPR, we need to give people choice in order to own their data. If you want to opt out and not share your data, you should be able to do it, right? And definitely like the biases, I mentioned about algorithm bias, for example, right? We need to do regular auditing of our systems and ensure that we are up to pace, right? In order to make sure that fairness is inbuilt in all sorts of things, right? So inclusion is not a checkbox anymore. It's a design philosophy and I would say it's a must-have for today's systems, right? So 3 pillars there, I would definitely say all of it starts with people first. Technology should serve the people. It's not the reverse. People shouldn't serve technology, right? And it's all built on the common principle that accessibility improvement should benefit every single user who is using the system, whatever like a kind they are, wherever they are placed on earth, right? But definitely we see a very common problem, which is the will and the governance. The technological solutions, they exist, but political will becomes a bad bottleneck, right? That delays execution, that also delays implementation, that delays updation of these systems. So we definitely need a very strong will. We need a proper governance in place wherever we put these systems into place, right? So what about future trends? As a technologist, I would not only see IoT plus AI, which is AIoT, but I am looking at agile AOT. So we are looking at CI/CD pipelines. We are looking at data-driven decisions directly from development to monitoring. We are putting in agile systems everywhere. We are putting in trust and security built in. And then definitely we are making all the critical systems more and more resilient, right? So that is what we are looking at. So we are not just looking at simply connecting AI-driven devices and making sure that AI becomes the brain behind all this and we are able to take pragmatic decisions, but we also need to be agile because we need to continuously improve and optimize our systems. So what's the path forward then, right? So I would summarize it as 4 steps here. I would say design for security first. Please always think that this needs to be secure for everybody by default. We also need to make sure that it is ethical. It's not just impacting one portion of the audience, but it also like removes bias and it builds consent into everything. And then we are looking at ethical AI for everybody. We want to include all the excluded. It's not just about the majority of the population. We want every section of the society to be able to use AIoT at its optimum, right? And definitely policy and standards like the NIST, the ISO standards, the AIoT standards, the OWASP, the top 10, we will definitely need to put all that into place in order to make sure that our systems are resilient, they are inclusive, they are really ethical, they are serving everybody who is using it, right? So this is something like I have been pondering about. So I would say it's not about will the connected intelligence that we are putting in place reshape our world. It has already done that, right? Like I mentioned, we are already interconnected heavily. The question is whether we'll reshape it well enough for everybody to be able to utilize it, well enough for everybody to gain from it, and well enough for everybody to be impacted positively, not negatively, all right? So that's something like I would like to end up with. So leadership responsibilities are heavy. Our priorities are putting secure foundations in place, ethical design in place. We make sure that all the teams are cross-functional, just like cross-functional devices, and we have a human-centric focus. We always think about human in the loop at every stage of the process, wherever we use technology. But then I would leave you with one question. If you had to start off and put AI, OT in place, what would be the simplest way to do it? Start very simple, dream big, but start small. I would say just start with one use case. What is the one decision or the process that you want to automate or improve? That should set you going with how you can bring AI, OT into place. So that was the end of my presentation, and I would definitely love to answer questions here. So Professor Sudha, back to you.
Thank you so much. This was amazing. This was amazing. And your energy is so amazing because we brought you as the last speaker. Oh my God. That's unbelievable. I want to see if Raj Kosaraju has joined us here on Zoom, and he is from the IoT Council, which started the IoTDay, and he's an IoT expert. So he's been like giving notes, but he's giving some compliments. Raj, do you have any questions for our speaker here? She covered everything. You're right. It was a great presentation. He says she's covered everything. I mean, I was actually thinking as you're talking about various different things, and I was like, you just kept going, like everything I would ever think of, you were coming to it. And people tend to talk about ethics and inclusion as an afterthought, but you brought it back to governance, right? You had the ethics, morality, make it work for everyone. I love that. It's not an afterthought, but also like you brought it back to governance. I have taught a different class. You took my AI class. I've taught a different class on AI ethics at Barcelona Technology School, where we covered just in the name of AI ethics, right? We added a bunch of topics on privacy by design, differential privacy, and a whole bunch of things that's beyond. And I'm sure there are smart people watching this, but I just think beyond the scope of what we could cover with given our time. I'm very sure I'm going to find a way to bring you back, because this is going to my broader learners and to the IoT community that comes together once a year when we do this 24-hour live stream. So you've kind of set the tone, got us thinking in so many different directions. I just love it. I just love it. I like your question on what is the one thing you would do. So did you start from IoT and went to AI, and did you go start from AI and went to IoT? What is your direction of how you went here?
So I think they're interconnected, Professor, but I wouldn't want to separate the two. I mean, they are two sides of the same coin, right? So we can't just enhance one side of the coin without working on the other. AI is ubiquitous. IoT is ubiquitous as well. I mean, so they would definitely need to go together. And any new technology that we invent or we discover, I feel should reach every common man. So the way and the means of how we can get to the last mile connectivity should be the top priority. It shouldn't be like an afterthought, like you said. It should be there from the beginning. It should be built into every single process or every single automation initiative that we launch. So I think they definitely should go together, Professor.
So I loved your example with the healthcare. It shows the depth of your experience, and you articulated it beautiful slides. Well done, right? It shows how you thought about cybersecurity. It also shows your whole team, how they went through, incorporating all that. Have you seen a situation where, you were brought in and they said, okay, we have all these IoT systems and now we want to bring in cybersecurity? It's like, what do they call it in DevOps? Like a shift left approach. It's like,
Yes.
incorporate security in the early stages. Is that your philosophy? Or if you were brought in at a later stage, what would be your starting point be?
That's very much a realistic scenario, Professor, because a lot of people start off by buying things. They think they can put all these things into place and then these things will start talking together automatically. But they don't understand that the technologies behind each of them is different. There are a lot of proprietary stuff out there, and they just don't combine with each other, right? Every manufacturer would like to be at the top of their world. They would definitely not want to talk to each other unless mandated by a GDPR or by a OWASP or by a NIST or an ISO, right? So we need to bring all these standards in place in order to make sure that each of these devices talk to each other. So this is completely missing when people start off their businesses. Very few of them think holistically. They generally have a bottom-up approach instead of a top-down approach. So I think when we talk about implementing these stuff, we will definitely have to have the top management completely aligned to make sure that this is not a one-day thing. You are bringing in the devices, but then you are bringing in the application layer and you need to look at the big picture. It's not just solving today's problems, or it's not just solving a couple of problems for a couple of people, but you have to scale it up, right?
Yeah. And it's very amazing. We started with Krishna Priya Vasireddy talking about data governance.
Governance.
And then you kind of finished it full circle to how, it's not about the data, it's about AI. It's not just the AI, and AI is calling for IoT, but then it comes back to data governance, right? I just loved that whole. I mean, he could not have planned something like that to kind of tell a story, and you did that. It's very amazing. Lots to think about. And for those of you, especially this has been added in this office hours in my LinkedIn learning courses. So many of you might watch it after the fact. Yes, Krishna is basically saying, great insight into AIoT. Our first speaker, she's here. So compliments from her. So if you're coming back, add a comment. And we just kicked off IoT, Women IoT Day. We do this as a 24 hours. So the Asia segment has just set the bar very high. Next, we are going to go to the Africa segment in 2 hours, less than 2 hours, when it's 9 a.m. in Nigeria. And then tomorrow, like my morning, right, in US, California time, from 10 o'clock to 5 o'clock, we have like a whole bunch of other countries. So I don't know if it makes time zone sense. Please stop by before you go to bed, and whether you can, join any of our early sessions. We in live stream wise, we have it as 2 halves, because Zoom we can keep running whole day. It's the same Zoom. If you already got access to the Zoom, you can come in. And if you're signed up for the Zoom, we'll make sure we'll follow up and send you the recordings and stuff. So I think we have a talk on device and identity, one coming in the morning. And I do this with Roxy Stimson. We started this, 9 years back. And Roxy is this data ninja. And then she's obviously, grown in corporate and done like amazing stuff in AI and more. So I was just thinking about her early years conversations about how IoT systems don't talk to each other, or the data from IoT. It's not just, the different protocols for communication, but the data from IoT has to be normalized and put together, and then it needs to talk to some other enterprise systems, and that problem is still there. But I think feeding everything to AI does solve a problem, because AI now like makes a confident prediction, right? Regardless of where.
Yes, Professor Sudha. I think I love the way you had structured the entire event, because you're covering so many aspects of AIoT, right? So it's not just about one particular thing. It's not just about the devices, the technology, but you're bringing in all this other aspects which people need to be aware of, right? If they are building systems, if they are even using systems, a lot of awareness needs to go into the common man, right? So where they know that, hey, I'm using this, but what is the thought process behind it? What is the logic? What is the technology, right? They need not know the nitty-gritty stuff of Python or R or any other language, but then they need to know how these things are coming together and how technologists like us are making lives easier for them. Right?
Yeah.
So I think your event is a great harbinger of such thought processes. I think we should spark a lot of interesting conversations.
Thank you. And you've said that, right? I mean, you've seen in our classes, like, if we listen to something, got us thinking about something more, right? Wanting more is the best kind of, sessions, So you've given us one such session. So thank you so much. Hope you can join us tomorrow for the America session, or come check the Africa one, because it's still in your time zone.
Yes.
And it's all in Business School of AI on LinkedIn. You will find the Africa session also coming up next.
It will be an honor, Professor.
Thank you so much. And if you're able to, it's the same Zoom if you want to join in, because if you join in the Zoom, then obviously you can have a discussion and contribute and ask questions and stuff. And it's a brilliant set of women in the next batch. I have to go to bed and come back and watch that back. And so I'm really bad about missing it, but someone from my team will be up to kind of, open the Zoom and do things. So we'll see. With that, I think we should wrap up this session. Mala, if you're okay with this, I think we should wrap up. Yes?
Yep. And I just want to echo what Professor Sudha
Don't call me
mentioned about
Professor Sudha, because Padmini is calling me just.
You've earned it, Sudha. You have earned that privilege. So, do you think we would be called that? No, right?
I wanted to say, Padmini, it was a wonderful presentation. I also work in the industry, so I definitely understand, appreciates the value of pushing security by design up in the stream, and it was wonderfully done from. I can't believe it's how many trillions in the market, and then I forgot the 75 billion in 2030, 75 billion IoT. That's a huge number. So there's a huge opportunity that comes along with it. So thanks for sharing your insights as well. So yeah, with that, we call it a wrap for Asia panel, and then on to Africa panel in few hours. But we can close this one now.
Thank you so
All the
much.
best with the
Thank
remaining events.
Yes.
And good night.
And we have chatted and answered, asked questions and
Yes.
stuff. So people will come. Like, it tends to pick up as people learn about this and they go, oh, I was supposed to go on Zoom and I missed that window and time zone. And, they'll come back and see the chat. As everybody is commenting, it sends feed. So in the next couple of days, all through tomorrow, we'll be doing this till 5 p.m. my time in California. But it usually picks up, and we tend to kind of share the recording and the deck and everything in the coming months. So this is just like the beginning of the discussion. So just I tagged you a lot in the chat, so be on the lookout if you have questions. If you're seeing questions that you are comfortable to answer, we'll appreciate that. And then I'm sure we'll find a way to collaborate. That's my dream. Every year we do this. It's so much work, and the people come from everywhere. I feel so grateful. But the end of it, and then I'm always like thinking, oh, we should create some collaboration, and maybe we should bring this person to work with that person. I tend to do that ad hoc, or like somebody's doing research, or somebody's looking for a job and things like that. But my dream is like we'll work together as a community.
It's a fantastic initiative, Professor. And I think I would be happy to be part of any volunteering efforts that you would need me to do in the background and as well as on screen. So it's a great pleasure.
Thank you. We had some of our past speakers come in, and they were coming from different time zones. It was amazing. So we do like the previous speakers to come in and mentor newer speakers, or just jump in on the conversation if it's relevant to your area of expertise and things like that.
Sure.
So
Please
thank you,
reach
everyone.
out.
Yes, thank you so much.
I'll help in whatever way I can.
Thank you so much. Okay, so with that,
Thank
we
you
should.
all.
Okay, Mala, we can close the live
Yep,
stream.
thank you all. Have a good one. Bye.
Thank you, everybody.